Hello everyone, this is Story Dive, back again, reviewing, recapping, and breaking down the Easter eggs and references in another episode of American Gods. This time Season 3, Episode 4, titled The Unseen, which might be a reference to the Greek god of the underworld Hades, whose name is thought to come from the Proto-Greek word for unseen. To me, this was a more interesting episode than Episode 3. This episode revealed some things that I had been wondering about since I saw the trailer for the season. Some of my theories from my previous breakdowns were proved wrong in this episode, and some were proved right. So without further ado, let's get to that.
The founders believed in a creator.
As the episode starts out, we finally get another Coming to America story from Mr. Ibis. I was wondering if they were going to include these in this season, and it seems like they are. In this case, he recounts the story of the Orishas coming to America. Ibis starts out by very simply describing the history of slavery in America. He makes a reference to the Declaration of Independence, saying the founders believed in a creator who endowed every individual with equality and freedom. But, he says, because of the new government's debt, they gave in to commerce and materialism and slavery, defying the oath to the creator. He also says that those who were enslaved brought with them the Orishas, who are the deities of the Yoruba people in West Africa, to America. As these people toil over cotton, we hear one of them singing Wade in the Water, which I think is a reference to Yemoja, the mother of the rivers or oceans, or possibly also Oshun, who's also associated with water, and who we'll see in a bit. One of them says, I is not me, I is we, and the Orisha Chango, or Shango, the god of thunder, played by Wale, finishes his sentence and says, we is power. Then we see the Orisha Oshun, goddess of waters, love, and fertility, speaking to this girl and telling her, you are my beloved. Then Yemoja introduces herself, saying she is Yemoja the water. And finally, this Orisha Aye introduces herself, saying she is the earth beneath you. In my last breakdown, I said this was the Orisha of wealth, who is called Aje or sometimes Aye, but here she says she is the earth beneath them. So I now think I was wrong. I think she is the embodiment of the Yoruba word for earth, Aye. In other words, she is Mother Earth. The Yoruba word Aye is not usually an Orisha, at least that I can find, hence my confusion in the last breakdown. There is a male Orisha named Babalu Aye, who is associated with healing and the land, and there is also the sort of similar sounding Orisha Oya, the goddess of storms, but I don't think that's who this is. In this case, I think they're making Aye the literal representation of Mother Earth. If anyone has heard of Aye the Earth being referred to as an Orisha, please let me know in the comments below. Cutting to Bilquis's apartment, Shadow interacts with Techboy, really for the first time since Techboy tried to have him lynched, and as you would expect, he's not very happy with him. He roughs Techboy up a bit, who seems to be malfunctioning, but Shadow is looking for Bilquis, and Techboy is able to describe what happened there. After she consumed the tech CEO Bill Sanders, as a sacrifice, his security detail broke into her apartment and ended up imprisoning her at a private facility in what we find out later is Hoboken, New Jersey. Shadow wants to find Bilquis, as does Techboy, because she did something to him in the first episode when she touched him and showed him that vision of war. That seems to have affected him, so he also wants to find Bilquis so that she can reverse whatever it was she did to him. So the pair team up as a kind of odd couple buddy cop detective team to track down Bilquis. As this family visits the cemetery, which I think is in New Orleans, one of the kids runs into the tomb where Laura left Sweeney and discovers Sweeney's body. So of course he tells his dad and it's reported to the authorities. The camera pulls into Laura's ashes and we return to Purgatory, where Laura is still waiting. She talks to this woman who says she's been waiting around since the summer of '93. This woman asks her if she had a relationship with Sweeney, and it's obvious she does have feelings for Sweeney, but being her usual cynical self, she doesn't want to admit it. Wednesday and Cordelia are still scheming on how to get Demeter and her money out of the retreat and away from her conservator Hutchinson. Wednesday even says he is defaming the Illusionian Mysteries, which were initiations and rites held by the cult of Demeter in ancient Greece.
The Illusionian Mysteries.
Cordelia hacks into Hutchinson's files and discovers he's been putting money in offshore accounts. However, they can't expose this unless they are able to break into Hutchinson's house and get a computer with the data. Wednesday even ponders if this could be a father and son B&E. Meanwhile, the buddy cops Shadow and Techboy try to track down Bilquis by following Bill Sanders' daughter's security. While they're interrogating this security guy, Shadow gets a call from his dad, Wednesday, even though he's calling the security guy's phone. Apparently he does this by using some Old Norse numerology. Wednesday uses a 21-digit number, which Cordelia questions. And he explains that in Old Norse, the number 3 is associated with royalty, which it is, and usually the 3 gods Odin, Vili, and Ve. And he multiplies this with the number 7, which he says represents completeness, which it can. Thus he ends up with a 21-digit number that somehow calls Shadow no matter where he is. Wednesday pitches his father and son B&E job, but of course Shadow turns him down. So Wednesday says he'll have to find another way to rescue his bride, referring to Demeter, and based on this preview of the next episode, it seems that he and Shadow will visit Demeter here. The security guy won't give up Bilquis' location, so Shadow makes Techboy glitch out, and implies that he's an alien to scare the security guy. He makes reference to greys and tall whites, which are supposed alien beings, and this works. The security guy gives up the goods and tells them where Bilquis is being held. Checking back in with Miss World, she is not happy because the Shard Project, the technology that will essentially connect the new gods to the minds of all humanity, is behind. But her assistants, Trending and Dr. Fap, say this is not their fault. They say one of their software suppliers, Levitech, which is Bill Sanders' company, is basically in chaos after his disappearance. Miss World figures out what happened to Bill Sanders and discovers where Bilquis is being held in New Jersey, at one of their data farms. So she decides to pay Bilquis a visit, and actually she does this in his Mr. World form. While Laura is hanging around Purgatory, she has a song stuck in her head which she asks everyone about, but no one seems to quite know what it is except for the AV guy, who says it's Schweiger's Requiem of Balder. I tried to look the song up, but I couldn't really find anything, so I think this might be a fictional song which they created for the show. If anyone knows this as a real composition, let me know, but I think it's fictional. It is interesting, though, that it's a requiem for Balder, the Norse god of light, who I have speculated in the past is either Shadow or is connected to Shadow somehow, as he also emits light and is also the son of Odin. What makes this interesting is that Laura remembers this from her childhood, meaning she had some kind of strange connection to Balder before she even met Shadow. Possibly this means that they're going to get into the connection of Shadow to Balder in this show, and this includes Laura as part of her destiny from way before she ever met Shadow. That's my guess anyway. The AV guy says she has a powerful destiny, but as she's talking to him, this cemetery caretaker steps on Baron Samedi's Grigri potion, which was laying in Laura's ashes in the tomb, spills the Grigri on her ashes, and resurrects her. So she's transported out of Purgatory back into the tomb, completely naked, and apparently she is not a zombie powered by a magical leprechaun coin anymore. Now she's really alive again, and can feel things like cold or taste. Before she leaves the tomb, she is also careful to take Sweeney's coin with her. Wednesday pays a visit to the Valhalla East biker bar. Apparently these bikers are called the Lords of Valhalla, and as you would expect, they have a history with Wednesday, even telling stories about him driving his bike, Betty, up a mountain during a blizzard. Wednesday is there to recruit the services of this biker to break into Hutchinson's house and retrieve the computer, but while this is going on, the Viking death metal lead singer Johann is making trouble at the pool table. Wednesday talks with Johann, who is still distraught about his bandmates being killed, and like I suspected in the last breakdown, Wednesday asks him if he killed his bandmates.
Did you kill them?
Johann says no, he didn't, but Wednesday explains that he is a berserker. Wednesday calls Johann his blood-drinking fire bear, which is a reference to Viking berserkers. They were thought to wear bear skins and draw their power from the bear when they went into their fits of frenzy, and during these fits they were thought to drink blood and be immune to steel and fire. So Wednesday is implying that Johann went into one of his berserker frenzies and killed his bandmates, but Johann seems pretty adamant that he didn't kill them, so it's likely that the new gods killed his bandmates. Miss World did seem upset about these Viking metal shows in the first episode. Wednesday tells Johann to sleep it off, but he seems pretty insulted by Wednesday's inference, and says, "I cry to my god," referring to Wednesday, but his throne is empty. I also find it interesting that the word hell is prominently displayed here, which is also a realm in Norse mythology, but I would have preferred if it said Helheim. Mr. World takes the place of the security guy and pays Bilquis a visit in her cell, saying he had an agreement with Bilquis that she could receive worship from Bill Sanders as long as she didn't sacrifice him. Of course she did, which creates a problem for Mr. World, who needs Levitech to complete his Shard project. Then, in the form of that security guy, Mr. World says we can't risk Bilquis becoming an intelligence asset to someone else, and we see that he killed the real security guy who he took the place of. While Cordelia is waiting outside the Valhalla East Club, It explodes, and Wednesday comes out ranting and raving. It seems he's lost his mind, but I have to suspect this is another con. It could be the work of Johann, which Cordelia implies later, or even the new gods, but knowing Wednesday, it's another con. For what purpose, I'm not sure, but it could be a scheme to get to Demeter and her money, or it could be that he just sacrificed all the people in that bar to himself. Incidentally, as he runs around and exposes himself, he recites the lyrics to the song by Cream, Pressed Rat and Warthog. I think if he was really crazy, he wouldn't be able to recite all of the lyrics to that song in order. In Norse mythology, there is a warthog, or rather a boar, a golden boar called Gullinbursti, who was given to the Norse god of fertility, Freyr, so perhaps that's what Wednesday is referencing, or perhaps he just likes the band Cream. Back in Bilquis' cell, they are torturing her, perhaps with the music of Johann's band, Blood Death, or some other metal. A tear falls from Bilquis' eye, lands and breaks the ground, then when she touches it, water starts flowing out of the ground, and Bilquis goes into a sort of dreamlike vision state, recounting all of the past worship she received, and seemingly going way back into her origins in prehistory. Then she is visited by the Orisha Oshun. Oshun is dressed in yellow, which is one of the colors associated with her, and she carries a peacock fan like Bilquis. As I mentioned before, peacock feathers are a symbol of Oshun, but there was also a symbol of a peacock outside of Bilquis' apartment, so I was trying to guess what Bilquis' connection to the peacock was, and apparently all my guesses were wrong. The connection is that she's connected to Oshun. Bilquis says I is we, like the man did at the beginning of the episode at the congregation of Orishas, and in this case it seems to mean that Bilquis is considered part of the Orishas. Actually, in real history, Bilquis, the Queen of Sheba, does have a connection to the Yoruba people. The Ijebu clan of the larger Yoruba people dedicated a defensive system in Nigeria to Bilquis, although they refer to her as Bilikisu Sangbo. I probably mispronounced that. So while not an Orisha, Bilquis would have been part of this Yoruba culture. It seems Bilquis is able to call on the Orishas because she is connected to them, and based on the peacock feathers, it seems she is connected to Oshun especially. They are both goddesses of love after all, so perhaps they are like two sides of the same coin. Perhaps the show is implying that Bilquis and Oshun were even the same goddess once, way back in history, but they split off in different directions. That isn't supported by real mythology, but it's an interesting idea for the show. The security guys look in on her and she seems to be completely crazy, but in fact she is gaining power from Oshun, and actually according to this image from the preview of next episode, it seems Bilquis will channel Oshun's water power to flood this prison and escape. Back at the cemetery, Laura is now fully alive. The cemetery caretaker gives her Sweeney's ashes in a box, and she says she's off to see a man about a song, which based on the previews for next episode seems to be Wednesday, but she will see Mr. Ibis first. As she's traveling, she sees a light which she thinks is Shadow's light, or the light of Balder, whatever it is, but it turns out it's only a sign for a truck stop diner, so she can't see Shadow's light anymore. Then she gets a ride with this trucker to Cairo, Illinois, of course going back to the Mr. Ibis and Jaquel funeral parlor to firstly find Wednesday and figure out the meaning of the song in her head, but possibly also to find a way to resurrect Sweeney. But that is the end of the episode. I would love to know what you thought of this episode, and if you noticed a detail that I didn't, or if I got something wrong. What do you think is the meaning of the Requiem for Balder music in Laura's head, and how will it relate to Laura and possibly Shadow? I would love to know your thoughts and theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss more videos like this. Check out my American Gods playlist linked on the screen, and thanks for watching. Until the next episode of American Gods Season 3, until next time.